So, if you're a tech leader, you have definitely heard all the buzz around microservices. You've heard the stories, companies moving faster, shipping features quicker, and somehow making their systems more reliable at the same time. But let's be real, the idea of moving from a monolith you know and understand to this sea of tiny independent services, it can feel pretty overwhelming. So in this explainer, we're going to cut through all the noise and get right to the practical concerns that leaders have when they're thinking about this kind of massive shift. All right, let's get into it. First, we're going to get on the same page about what the microservices way even means. Then we'll tackle the big questions everyone has right at the start. From there, we'll dive into that classic dilemma, decentralization versus control. We'll also ask if this whole approach is even a good fit for critical industries, like banking. And finally, we'll pull it all together to talk about how you can find the right balance for your own team.
Okay, first things first. It is so important to understand that microservices are not just another technology you can buy or a pattern you can just copy-paste. At its heart, it's really a whole different philosophy for building software. It's a way of thinking that was born out of trying to solve the very real problems that happen when our systems just get too big and complicated to change without breaking something. This quote right here, this really gets to the core of it. The entire reason for even considering microservices is to strike a balance between two things that often feel like they're fighting each other. On one side, you've got speed. The business needs new features and they need them now. On the other, you've got safety. We need to keep the lights on and make sure the system is stable. The whole goal is to get both of those things even as you scale up and to find a harmony that actually works for you.
Now, all that sounds great in theory, right? But when the rubber meets the road, some very real, very valid questions come up almost immediately. So let's just jump right in and tackle the biggest one first. This is the question that's on pretty much everyone's mind. You've heard about service-oriented architecture, you're probably already using DevOps practices, and you look at microservices and think, hang on a second, aren't we kind of doing this already? And you know what? You're not entirely wrong, but it is a bit more nuanced than that.
Let's break down what we're really talking about here. A few words in this definition are absolutely key: highly automated and evolvable. This isn't about setting up services and just letting them sit there. It's about creating a living system that can constantly change. And these capability-aligned components, that just means each piece has a clear job and does that one thing really well.
So when you look at the characteristics, a lot of this probably looks familiar. Yep, they're small, they use messaging, they rely on automation, which is the heart of DevOps. But the real magic, the secret sauce, is in putting all of these things together, especially that idea of autonomous development and decentralization. The end goal isn't just to make things modular, it's to make them replaceable. And that idea of autonomy leads us directly to what is, without a doubt, the single biggest fear for management. The second you say words like decentralized and autonomous teams, the very next thought is, well, what about control? How do you manage the chaos?
This is really the heart of the problem, isn't it? In a traditional setup, you have these central teams, your enterprise architects, your central security folks, and they're the gatekeepers. But in a microservices world, those gates become bottlenecks. So if you get rid of them, who makes sure everyone is following the rules? Who is ultimately in charge?
You can really see the shift in thinking here. On the left, you've got the old world, centralized control through architecture boards and security teams. On the right, you have the microservices ideal, team autonomy to break through those bottlenecks. Now, at first glance, it looks like a simple trade-off. It feels like you have to give up control to get more speed.
But here is the most important takeaway on this topic. That idea is a myth. It's just not true. The most successful microservice architectures have proven that you can absolutely have both decentralization and control. Governance doesn't disappear, it just changes its shape.
So how do you do it? Well, instead of relying on people and meetings to be your gatekeepers, you build the governance right into your system. Control becomes something you express through your tooling, through standardized automation that enforces your policies, and through well-defined processes that everyone follows. You're not losing governance, you're just automating it. Okay, let's say you're on board with this idea of automated governance. The next huge question is about context. Is this architectural style really for everybody, or is it just for the big tech giants who stream videos and music? This is such a critical question, especially if you work in a highly regulated industry. I mean, when misplacing a single dollar or making one mistake on a medical record can have massive consequences, your tolerance for risk is completely different than if a video takes an extra second to load. And let's face it, it's true. The examples we always hear about are companies like Netflix and Spotify.
And while what they do at their scale is amazing, the business impact of a small failure for them is fundamentally different than it is in finance or healthcare. So it's totally fair to be skeptical.
And the answer here really comes down to nuance. The way a bank implements microservices should and will look very different from how Netflix does it. The point isn't to copy someone else's blueprint. The point is to adapt the core principles that need for both speed and safety to your specific business and all the regulations you have to follow.
So this all brings us back to that central idea. How do you actually apply this philosophy in a way that makes sense for you and your company? Well, it all comes down to finding your unique point of balance.
This framework pretty much sums up the entire philosophy. It starts with speed, the need to get ideas out the door faster. But that speed can never come at the expense of safety and reliability. And the real trick is doing both of those things as you grow, or at scale. The true art of it all is finding that perfect harmony between these ideals that fits your world, whether you're building a streaming app or a core banking system.
So ultimately, this is the question that you have to take back to your team. There's no single right answer, no one-size-fits-all solution. The biggest lesson from all the companies that have done this successfully isn't about a specific tool they used, but about their obsessive focus on finding their unique harmony between speed and safety. So, what does that harmony look like for you?
And that's all for this explainer. If you found this useful, do us a favor and hit that like button, share it with a colleague, and subscribe for more deep dives. Thanks for tuning in.